How you doing, Mr. Will Leitch?
I have to say, I feel like I have to talk about baseball as much as I can before midnight. I feel like it's like Gremlins. I'm Gizmo, and I'm going to turn it into a gremlin at midnight. The lockout's got me bummed out a little bit, but I'm happy to. I'm always happy to be talking to you. We need to do a Seeing Red just so we can feel like there's some sort of baseball happening after tonight, because it's going to get shut down for a while.
Well, we should, and I really mean this. I was preparing for the show and also writing something for Scoops with Danny Mac about the Cardinals and their offseason so far. And I'm trying to be reasonable and all these other things. And I know you're a reasonable guy too, but I'm starting to get this feeling, and this is something that you and I have talked about on numerous occasions, in season, off season, whatever. I'm starting to get that gnawing feeling that the Cardinals signed Steven Matz and they're really, really happy with themselves and, all but taking bows. And you're waiting for surely they're going to be doing something else of some magnitude. There's going to be another, pretty an impact move. And I'm getting the feeling we're sort of back to the stuff we always talk about. Are you having that kind of anxiety?
I certainly don't get the sense that they are going to be scrambling to make moves before midnight tonight. No, I think I think you got the first sign of this a little bit when very, very shortly after the season ended, you heard a lot of, we feel like that wasn't the real Paul DeJong. And the minute I heard that phrase, I thought, they're not going to be very active this year, are they? And listen, I get it. I'm not sure about the DeJong thing, but I understand. Again, as we talked about in the show, I do feel like they've earned at least a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, considering the way the end of the season ended. Sure. I'm still not sure. It would be nice if we had a better sense of the manager situation, but that's okay. I'm not going to push that anymore. Certainly, it feels like there's some benefit of the doubt there, but I don't think there's any question that the match thing. It's a very Cardinals move. I think it's a smart move. I thought the figures they got him for were totally reasonable, and the sort of thing that they probably should be doing. But a lot of times they make these clever moves, and they're like, "See, we're clever." Bye. It does have that vibe a little bit right now. And again, we'll see. Would that be the case if the sport wasn't essentially shutting down at midnight tonight? I don't know. We'll find out. But certainly it does not get a sense. It's not like you saw the Matz move and thought, "Oh wow, here they come. They're going to be so urgent." I think you saw it and you're like, "Yeah, it's going to be it for a while, isn't it?" And I think it probably will be.
And I've always in fact, one of the things a big point I made at the top of this piece I wrote, and I haven't had a chance to talk about it on the air yet, is that, the idea that build what's cheap is just factually incorrect. I mean, they've been a top 10 payroll team. Not every year, but they've never been lower than 14th, and that only happened twice. I mean, they've been at top 13 at least, but mostly like a top 10 payroll team in 20 of the last 22 years. They spend plenty of money to win. It's just that they won't go out of their comfort zone very often, and I would maintain, and I think you would agree, with Molina entering his final year, Wainwright probably the same. Goldie's 33. Arenado's going to be 31 next season. This is the time to push it, to get out of your comfort zone a little bit. I look at the rotation, and there are questions there simply because there were so many injuries to the people that are going to be in the rotation. So if you're ever going to just push it and just make yourself uncomfortable, I would think 2022 is the time to do it.
I would think so too. And listen, I wish we could find out. But again, everything's shutting down tonight, so we might be able to have this exact same conversation in a month. But I do think that there is going to be, I would hope that last June. I think actually even Mo talked about this when he introduced Matz. Last June did clearly affect them. I have to say, I can't imagine at any point Mo or anyone involved with the Cardinals organization after what happened in June with the Cardinals thinking, "Oh, we've got all the pitching in the world. There's nothing to worry about." And listen, we've heard that before, right? The Cardinals don't have to worry about pitching. They've got so many arms. They have 8 starters. What are they going to do with all these starters? We saw what happens when you have that mindset in June. Everything falls apart, and poor Johan Oviedo is being left to die on the vine and all that kind of, and then it took the entire season trying to kind of dig out from the hole they made for themselves. So you'd like to think that this is not just a patch move. I don't expect them to go big. I'm not sure there's a lot of guys left that you want to go big on anyway, but it does feel like if you learned a lesson from last season, you need innings. You certainly need innings. And listen, there's a school of thought around the baseball industry that 2021 was an aberration. It was after a shortened season, that no one really had a minor league year. A lot of things were kind of off, and so therefore every team was going to run out of pitchers at some point. And I understand that at a certain level, but you've just got to have innings. And I think that I would hope that whenever things get back going again after the freeze tonight, they will be able to look around and see certainly the value. You don't necessarily need that top shelf guy. I don't think they would ever go after that top shelf guy. But certainly if you want to get out of your comfort zone, don't think about getting out of the comfort zone. Think about it as buying comfort. If you get a lot of innings, it gives you a cushion that obviously last year you didn't have.
Yeah, and I don't mean to dwell on this, and again, because I like the Matt signing, I don't want people to think that my problem was with Matt himself. It's not. It's just that I maybe was, of course, being unrealistic, thinking that they would just aim higher. But here's the deal, okay? Their starting rotation was really bad for 2 months. I mean, really bad. June and July, okay, and then they made a flurry of moves. It actually started late June with Wade LeBlanc, and then of course they got J-Happ and Lester, and they just kind of really in a hurry. They just got to get reinforcements. And, they added a couple of relievers who were effective. And then all of a sudden, the pitching became much stronger, much more stable. Things worked beautifully. The rest is history. But here's the deal. Okay, they say they learned from their lesson. There were a lot of quotes about that from Mozeliak earlier this offseason where he was saying, he said it. I mean, it's just like, well, geez, we need to have pitching depth. We really need to have starting pitching depth. So I'm sitting here trying to figure the math here. LeBlanc did a good job, Happ did a good job, Lester did a good job, and I'll just keep it at the rotation guys now. And Kim, for all of his, in and out of the rotation stuff, I mean, he made 21 starts, pitched 27 games he appeared in, had a 3.42 ERA. So it's not like the guy was killing the team or something. So if you add Kim to that list, because you have 4 starting pitchers who really helped you get to the finish line in a wild card spot, and so you subtract four starting pitchers basically, at least at this time, and you add one, and I'm not very good at math, but it's like I'm trying to figure out how you've added to your pitching depth when you subtract four of your starters who helped get you there are gone, and you've added one. What am I missing? What the hell am I missing?
They clearly have more faith in the health of Miles Michaelis or Dakota Hudson than maybe you or I do. And I think that's okay to have a little bit of faith in that, again, as long as you've gotten backup plans. And I would certainly think, particularly after the year they just had, no one other than Wainwright and Flaherty should really go into this idea of being like, our spot's ours, we're going 7-8 innings every game, it's ours across the board. Like, it does feel like this is, they're going to have to patch innings together, and you just have to give yourself as much cushion as you can. It's not like the Cardinals, like the issue with the Cardinals last year, again, was they had to rely on young pitchers who couldn't throw strikes. And when that happens, that you can't win. Like, even when things were going well for the offense, and obviously with the great defense they had, you can't win that way. And to me, I think one of the nice things about having the defense that the Cardinals have is you can bring in pitchers that might not necessarily be that crazy high velocity or crazy high expense. The most expensive guys are going to be your fastest throwers, your superstars. Cardinals don't necessarily need superstars with the defense they have. They need guys that can throw strikes. Those guys are generally kind of affordable, but you have to go get them, and you have to make sure that you don't get yourself in a position like you were last year. And so I would hope they would see that by now. Maybe they do, and maybe, again, because the game's freezing tonight, we're not going to know for a while. But certainly, if Matz is it, as I saw in your terrific column on Scoops with Danny Max, if Matz is it, that would certainly be pretty disappointing.
Hey, Will, one more thing for you, and by the way, I appreciate it because I mean this sincerely. I know you're very busy, so I appreciate some time today. It's really good to talk with you. One more thing, because we never did. We didn't jump in and do like a quick seeing red when they did the expected thing and they named Ali Marmol as manager. But so what do you think? Just tell us what you think, because we haven't had a chance to discuss it, and our listeners haven't heard from you.
I think that he's I'm glad he was the one they picked. Because not only do I think he's a smart guy, and I think that someone that's obviously respected by a lot of people, but it also showed that maybe there was a little bit of a plan with the Schilt firing rather than just something that came as out of nowhere as it seemed to the rest of us, right? It felt like not so much an anger firing, but a just out of nowhere. No one saw that coming. It did seem, however, even in Schilt's initial comments about it, that they want Marmol. There seems to be some sort of plan in here. So I think that's the hope. I really feel like it can't be overstated enough how much of a risk this move was. I know that this is a risk-averse organization, but forget just Cardinals fans. Eyes are on the Cardinals right now. It is very unusual. You saw that the MLB Network had that Manager of the Year the finalists on there, and Schilt was on, and it was really weird.
The old man was it?
It was really uncomfortable. It was really, it was a strange situation. And people on baseball saw that, and they're like, wow, Mike Schilt is a really good guy, and he's literally in the top 3 of the top Manager of the Year voting, and everyone respects him. We thought it was a perfect fit in St. Louis. What exactly is going on over there? And I think that people notice that. And listen, I think we can make an argument for it. I can see some logic to it, but it better work. Because I think that it definitely. The Cardinals are, for better or worse, known as an organization that does not like to make big dramatic changes and likes consistency and likes, a kind of chain of command that's passed down throughout the decades. That move fell outside of that. Even if the guy that replaced him was someone that was in the organization, and many people have been talking about taking over for a while, certainly from outside the organization, people pay attention to stuff, and that stuff does matter. People are pricked up their ears a little bit. I don't think there's any question about it. So it better work. I think Marmol is a good choice. I'm glad it was him, and it wasn't just we actually hadn't thought about this. Can we get Frank Koenig? What can we do? I was glad that they had they did the thing that we kind of thought they would do, but it better work because it's tough for any new manager to come in and just figure that immediately. He's going to have no margin for error, really at all, and not just for the Cardinals and their fans, but really throughout all of baseball.
And before we go, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that Will Leitch, with 2 other dudes, does a Georgia football podcast, and they've been doing this quite a while. It's called Waiting Since Last Saturday, and you can find that, wherever you search for podcast. And with that plug, I want to ask you, how confident are Dogs fans in that they will beat Alabama and continue with their quest for the perfect season, basically?
Yeah, we are actually just about to tape that show right now. As a matter of fact.
I better let you go then.
Oh, no. We got plenty of time. The bourbon is still plenty cold. We're fine. But I would say that Georgia, it's very kind of a curious thing because on one hand, Georgia fans are always very, very nervous all the time. They haven't won since 1980. Alabama, in particular, has caused them much pain, whether it was the SEC championship game a few years ago or infamously the national championship game or the 2012 SEC championship game. Alabama has their number, and Kirby Smart has never beaten Nick Saban. This is the first year any of Saban's assistants has ever actually beaten him when Jimbo Fisher did it for Texas A&M. Alabama is the boogeyman in a lot of ways, and so I think there's concern there. On the other hand, I will be at the SEC championship this weekend. I talked to some friends of mine. I'm like, hey, so am I going to see you there? And they're like, oh, we're actually saving our money for the national championship game. Ooh. I was like, oh, well, look at us. I'm going to quote you on that. So I think there's a little bit of listen, the team is really good. I think one of the guys that does the podcast with me, he's 55 years old, been watching this team forever. He's like, this is the best Georgia team I've ever seen, including the 1980 team, including the Herschel Walker teams, including the team a couple of years ago. This defense is otherworldly. It's almost like the 85 Bears of college defenses. There's a lot of excitement out there, and this is kind of a weak Alabama team, and frankly, it doesn't look like I'm not sure Michigan or Cincinnati or Oklahoma State necessarily terrifies Georgia fans either. I think the general sense is that this is the year that they've been building to. That's just a scary thing for people in Georgia to say out loud. So, and I certainly understand considering their history.
Well, I look forward to listening to the episode you're about to do. It's really good stuff. And just for context, Will Leitch, native of Mattoon, Illinois, of course, famously. Spent time in St. Louis when he was beginning his career, a huge Cardinals fan, but has for quite a while now lived in Athens, Georgia, which, of course, is where the University of Georgia is located. And it seems like a wonderful life down there. Your boys have fun, and your lovely wife, you guys do a lot of cool things, so I'm happy for you. And, but do your sons, kind of say, Dad, are the Dogs going to win? Are they talking like that yet, or is it too early?
No, well, it helps. A, I'm from Illinois, and B, my wife lived in New York City for 13 years.
Right.
So even her accent has gone down a little bit now. So though I say the main southern thing about them is that they, if it gets below 60 degrees, they're like, "What? It's freezing around here." And I'm like, "Oh, I've raised weak Southern boys that can't handle the cold." So I'm trying to work on that. But other than that, it's pretty good down here. But listen, for what it's worth, we love Georgia. But if they play Illinois, go Illini. To be as clear as possible about that, we are Illini people first before we are Georgia people. But I just won't say that on the Georgia podcast tonight.
Well, listen, have a ball at the game Saturday. I can't wait. I'm going to be out of my mind on Saturday watching college football all day, all these conference championships. So thank you so much for your time, Will, and really, really enjoyed it.
Oh, please. Great as always. Have a great holiday, Bernie.
You too. That's our friend Will Leitch for Seeing Red podcast that we do. We're going to resume it. It hasn't gone away. We're just going on hiatus because, a lot of other things going on in Will's life. I mean, busy man. And, he's got he's working on a new book that'll be out, I think, relatively soon. His first book that he wrote, in the last cycle or so, how lucky that has been a big hit. He's doing really well, very proud of him, and happy that he's my friend.